Here are the top posts from Ask Reddit on the 3rd of December 2019.
Iron Rabbit 2006. Instead of giving presents, Santa now puts things that you lost or were stolen from you under the tree. What would you be the most excited to see under the tree?
Okay, refrigerator. My mother collected one Christmas ornament for me in a box every year from birth until I graduated from college, then gifted me the box when I went to set up my own home. 4 years later, my then boyfriend mistakenly took the box to Goodwill. I always get a little sad every year at this time, even 10 years later.
A rider 35. My dad is the third person in his family to have his name carried down generation after generation from my great-grandfather. When we were little, my granddad stopped by one day and passed on to my dad the family ring with their initials embroidered into it. It was emotional and he was very happy. Later that night my brothers and I lost a frisbee in a tree. My dad is the ultimate DIYer, so he rigged up a football that he would throw into the higher branches and then yank on it with a rope he had attached to free the frisbee. It eventually worked and it was a funny little scene. Later that night he realized his ring was gone. He assumed tossing the football again and again had loosened it up and it probably flew off his hand. He would go around that tree constantly for years to come looking for that ring. He even bought a heavy-duty metal detector to try and find it. No luck. I would hope Santa would finally cut the guy a break and give that ring back. FRP 33.
Jorxorus. There will be a lot of bikes under my tree. Naveed 23.
A random person 123. What is the fastest way a room of happy people turns sour you've witnessed?
Life Gains. We had to work on a holiday but management didn't, so there was nobody to unlock the building. We waited outside from 7 a.m. until 7:45 and were told that if we didn't get in by 8 we could go home. 7:55 the manager shows up and lets us in.
Other passage. Bad snowstorm started about 4 a.m. a few years ago. My coworkers and I were texting each other thinking no way would they make us come into our job today. We are non-essential workers. We're all home waiting for the email to go out regarding whether or not our boss would give us the day off. Email finally goes out around 7:30 a.m. saying that we would have a shorter day but everyone must show up for work by 9. So I layered up, cleaned off my car, shoveled out of my parking spot and headed to work on very precarious roads. I got to work on time and was greeted by my coworkers who were all pretty happy just to not have gotten into an accident on the way over. All of the clients and meetings had been cancelled, so there was a party-like atmosphere. Just as we were talking about playing charades, we get another email from the boss saying because road conditions were so bad they were closing the agency after all and everyone had to go home. This was 20 minutes after we had all gotten there. I have never seen 20+ people all scream "Are you fucking kidding me" at the same time before. It was absurd and everyone was pissed. A rational shill. Family gathering was going great until the host realized she was missing thousands of dollars worth of jewelry. She started accusing everyone of being thieves until her husband said he put it away without telling her. We all get. Fetishist women of Reddit. What fetish is really hard to find in men?
Killer Kebab 1499. Over a drunken drinking game. I found out one of the girls that lived above us in student accommodation had a thing for guys coming too quick and getting embarrassed. The issue was, without fail, every guy she had told about it will inevitably just try and come really quick, which wasn't the same thing. I dunno why, but I found the entire thing hilarious.
4. What happens if the Soviet Union begins to excel? If they surpass us in education, athletic achievements, space explorations, military technology, happiness, etc. How could we then defend capitalism, which has its share of obvious problems? First among them, unfair distribution of resources. We could expect to see growing dissent in our population.
Avamaptera. I love when men come inside of me without protection. This is, obviously, an issue. Because the two major communist states, USSR and China, were totalitarian regimes with the state's goal of spreading globally, and eventually taking over Western Europe and the US. It wasn't like the Soviets were setting up communist governments and walking away. They were propping up those regimes, giving them money and arms and then controlling them from Moscow.
Piccolo. I don't know if this truly counts as a fetish, but I love when men are noisy, loud and frequent moaning, groaning, gasping. I love the sound of them losing control, essentially, and really enjoying themselves. But every guy I've had sex with barely makes any sound besides heavy breathing, and it's so frustrating.
Dirty Gus. What is your kid walked in during sex story?
Hooray for candy. I was the kid. I was in high school, so not super young. I needed something from my parents' bathroom. I had no idea they were in their room having sex. I thought they were downstairs watching TV. Walked into the scene of my naked mother on top of my naked father. I said, "Yikes," and hightailed it out of the room. Monsieur, my mother came into my room a bit later and asked if I was okay. I said, "I will be if we never speak of this again."
Those are groups of similar products, not individual products, hence the range of prices.
Bilba Papa. My wife's mom is over. She decides to be nice to me, so sends her to the park with our daughter. Then my wife orders me up to the bedroom and to strip and wait for her in the bed. I do as I am told. Wife puts on some nice little sexy robe thing, thankfully nothing too kinky, more cute. Proceeds to climb into the bed, and at this point just tells me to lie back and relax and is going down on me. Just in the nick of time we hear footsteps running up the stairs. So she pulls back, throws a blanket over me, and then curls up beside me like she's hugging me. Then throws her leg up over me to hide my happiness. Door opens and it's our daughter, who had to come back for one more hug. Jumps up in the bed, sees us hugging and comes in for a family hug. It was so uncomfortable and weird, and then daughter takes a long time, so grandma comes up to make sure everything is okay. Walks in and just stares at us and knows immediately what is going on. Could have been much worse, but that's the one and only time before locks were put on doors.
Dusty crust.
Cervantes X. So I was dating this girl with kids, one of whom was shit. I dunno. He was fucked up. Loved the little guy, but he'd try to run away from home in the middle of the night. Bang his head on shit. Hell, once he silently made a pile of furniture next to the front door in the middle of the night, so he could reach the lock we'd put on the top of the frame. Then he went and ran naked laps around the block until sunup. I think he was 4. Anyways, he ended up with a lock on the outside of his door at night. Yeah, I know. And he turned to kicking the door until someone would come. When they stopped coming, he kicked until he broke his little toes. So he had to wear little soft booties to bed, and the bottom of his door was covered in 6 of fluffy foie monsieur. Apparently sometimes he'd spend hours softly kicking the foie monsieur. Eventually it escalated and he started clawing at the door too. They weren't even sure if he was awake for it, and he was the sweetest little fella during the day. So anyways, I'm plowing his mom in the next room, like balls deep, while she's tied up like a modern art exhibit. For reasons that will be obvious once you try it. We're in front of a wall-length mirror. I'm up on one leg, and she looks like a cat that just slipped off the ceiling. And I'm just getting my second hand inside when the mirror falls on my face. Like, 1 second I'm looking her in the eye, and then there's a bang, and then suddenly I'm falling while looking in a mirror that's also falling. By the time I manage to sort myself out and look up, It looks like a 3-foot-tall assassin is busting through the drywall. Little leather gloves and boots are banging through, making puffs of wall dust. Shit is flying everywhere. I'm surrounded by broken glass. She's helpless. Her door is locked from the inside because of the other times that her other kids barge in. So we're basically just stuck there watching as he smashes a big hole in the wall between the two bedrooms. Anyways, that was the night that I learned everything I told you at the start of the post.
I had something like this a few years ago. Turns out the bathroom cupboard handle had some metal burrs on it. It wasn't enough to feel it happen, but it was sharp enough to score the top layer of skin when I opened the cupboard. Bizer. Girls, what NSFW questions about guys have you always wondered?
New apartment. Cold weather. No humidity. Did you move from a place with a furnace equipped with a humidifier? Perhaps you have severely chapped skin and/or fungal infection. Try hand lotion or bag balm. Designed for chapped hands. If your daily job involves hot water or latex gloves, it makes the chopping worse.